Be a companion video to the blog. I want to be very clear about the most important parts of the story or what's happening right now as Iran is attacked, and it looks like it's going to lead into a larger war, a regional war, as we see Iran attacking Dubai and other places. Look at where we are in the solar cycle, that we're just after the peak, and the late Burl Payne, who I cite on a regular basis, he's no longer alive, passed away in 2021. He wrote a book called Planetary Influences in 2011, a few years after I interviewed him. Also a book called The Power of Non-Thought. So he suggested that when the planets align, as they did recently, around February 28th, 2026, we saw on the same day Iran coming under attack from both the United States and Russia. We saw increased solar activity, nothing super extreme, but we've read about some X-class solar flares. There was an all-day solar event. It was moderate, but it was all day, from the 22nd to the 23rd. And in that period, 4 mosques dealt with either harassment or attacks or attempted arson or shootings. Nobody was hurt, nobody was killed, but I'll notice patterns like that where nobody will. Now we're just coming out of the annular eclipse and we're heading towards a lunar eclipse. That would be March 3rd, 2026, so that's a blood moon, right? So we're in between eclipses, and for years, I'm getting validation of this. For years, I've speculated that being in between eclipses, being in around certain moon cycles, new or full, in particular full, plus increased solar activity, it's an interesting cocktail or combination. What I don't get into is astrology. I'm not against it. It's that I'm not an expert in it, and I don't know that a lot of modern astrologers are looking at the most important part of the planetary influences. A lot of people also in the solar research community, to talk about it again for the 10th time, they often, when they are political or politically aware, lean towards the right. Whether this is an algorithm or just part of the culture that we're in, that's up for debate. And then over on the Facebook groups called Schumann Resonance, there's a lot of women that report their mental health problems, buzzing in the head, headaches, insomnia. But when I get into irritability and the influence over war, a couple things will happen. Some people will outright attack me and act like I'm trying to start a cult. And then I'm noticing a pattern from others thinking that I'm a fraud. For even trying to go down this area, they're acting like I'm a threat. So we're going to continue to talk about the basics in this video so that you get what I'm about, what I talk about on a regular basis. I think that often we're dealing with some sort of an evil intelligence. It's almost like some people are channeling the devil. There's something evil about what I've seen in humanity, the way people have treated me. There's an obvious connection, folks, between when the sun is active, solar maximums, and wars breaking out. It's not just me saying that. So when I can prove it with facts, and I show that I'm talking about this not because of, it's not some attention-seeking thing, not trying to get laid, not trying to get rich, not trying to be a king or a ruler, not trying to start a cult. I'm actually trying to help people. People are so programmed with a lot of effed up things, folks, in this world, that they'll think that I'm an enemy of theirs and that I'm worthy of exiling and treated like a nobody. And there's never been a more important time than right now for me to reach out to those parts of mainstream America that haven't been radicalized. That's why at solarseer.substack.com, I added editors. I'm not going to give them shout outs unless they'd like that. But I added like 50 to 100 people from the actual media. Some of them from Portland, some of them from Arizona, some of them from places that I feel have higher levels of consciousness, to where I'm basically rolling the dice, using my intuition, that there's going to be somebody on the other side of that phone, basically, receiving my message in a bottle. At the same time that I do that, I'm also going to deal with people that are heavily programmed by mainstream society, and it won't be a positive thing. They'll hear me talk about certain issues, they'll talk about certain historical events, and then they'll hear unique takes on it that are not normal, and it will be seen as typical conspiracy theory, when that's not what I am. Okay, these things are labeled conspiracy theorists, conspiracy theories, and people are labeled certain ways to discredit them ultimately. So we are affected by the sun, and we do need to think about how we mediate the effects of the sun. I shared a podcast, but I can, give more details another time and say a book. But when the solar cycle started up in 2023, certain positive things began for me, right? I moved out of the energy space where I was before, of deep depression after moving away from Colorado and my land. I trusted a bad doctor to give me meds for my negative mood, after quitting marijuana. Totally rational since marijuana is so therapeutic. Basically, those meds fucked my ass up, made me fat. I actually reconnected with my parents during that time. I felt so like I was dying, basically. Now I'm very alive. They're not really into the alive version of me. They really liked, I think, wanted to talk to the person who was all docile and could barely formulate a conversation. That's not good. What I came to understand is that we need to learn how to cope with our feelings in a much more responsible way rather than trusting Big Pharma, right? So when 2023 came, the energy came through that gave me the strength to quit those things when the doctor said, oh no, it's not easy to get off that stuff. Oh no, your ideas are crazy. You need this. No. They were poisoning me. The energy came through from the sun that energized my willpower, energized my drive, and I knew deep in my heart with the energy changes and my desire to evolve spiritually with the earth as it goes through these changes, that I had to be in a pure state, that I couldn't have anything to do with those things. And October 7th had not even happened yet, which of course happened as the solar cycle ramped up. We started to see more geomagnetic storms, and all of a sudden, boom, we have another war, and what some people have called a genocide, what some people can actually call a sacrifice to evil. That's also how I describe the other wars in the Middle East too, as more of a sacrifice, although not everybody agrees with me on that. But that is basically essentially what we're seeing. We're seeing an increase in people dying when the sun is active because there's something evil in this world that wants to take them out, right? And that's my concerns for what we're dealing with here with Iran, as we see a lot of people concentrated in one area and a nation that stands in the way of their ability to take out the entire Middle East. So Iran has been critical to them, and I've said for a long time that I believe that they want to basically take out 1 billion people by 2100. I've been saying that for over 10 years. Okay, and right now, with their Greater Israel Project, with the anti-Muslim program, with anybody looking ethnic being seen as the enemy, anybody talking about racism or white supremacy being seen as the left or anti-white, with these levels of programming going on right now, I'm doubling down that I do believe that they will be trying to achieve that goal. As far as what God is, what are we doing here? Will God help us? What type of prayers does God answer? Those are deep, deep philosophical questions. But just because we are living in a world of suffering and dying, I don't think that that is evidence that God doesn't exist. Right? I believe that God does exist, and we really need to look much closer at why we were born, who we were born, in the time that we were born. We need to look at how we are living in a time where there's a lot of information around us that we can use to help other people, right? Information is healing, right? Knowledge can save lives. Wisdom can help evolve souls beyond this prison planet type of reality. So we are here for a reason, right? So when it comes to praying to God, asking for God to grant us our wishes, folks, we're not talking about like a magic man in the sky or something. We're talking about something greater than what most people can understand. So we're here for a reason. We also die for a reason too. I believe that we're tested in this lifetime, and that a lot of people that are sharing space with us on this planet, that they are failing God's test. So on the way to 2100, and this is the first time that I'm bringing this to your attention, right? I believe that they will turn Iraq into a prison by 2050. And then by 2050, they probably want to nuke that place. I'm seeing a lot of messaging from right-wing figures, even one website that I bought a self-defense weapon from that has only gotten worse with its radicalization. It sells patches, right, for military people and militia people, you know, to identify what they're all about. And they got patches there that relate to kidnapping women. They got patches there that relate to, you know, killing Middle Eastern people, you know, and depicting them as basically having gray skin like zombies, basically being dead. Me, the terrorist, you know, like basically like honest patch. And also a patch that says basically pretty clearly what their agenda is and their ultimate fantasy. When in doubt, just nuke it. Okay, and I want you to wrap your mind around that. When in doubt, just nuke it. You need to wrap your mind around that because we're going to see a lot more people deported from America before later events take place. So mark my words, we're dealing with an evil in this world that likes to sacrifice certain human beings in front of the whole world while conditioning those humans basically to not even care, even though they're not eating human flesh, right? A lot of people in America now might already be considered cannibals, could be considered cannibals energetically. That this is a cannibal society. And it hasn't yet progressed to the dining of flesh, the dining on human flesh, but it looks like the orgy type scene from Conan the Barbarian, right? Well, you know, the shape-shifting snake and everything. Like my roommate just bought the movies. It's like, this is like a metaphor for our world. It was nice to see her say that. That's basically it, though. You know, they're basically sacrificing people, eating people, engaging in sodomy, engaging in a lot of wild sex, doing a bunch of drugs, and taking a bunch of alcohol, right? And basically working for the snake system or the evil system. If you'd like to help me, right, you would be helping me, not as an individual, right, but you would be helping me help others, right? That's the help that I need. I need help relocating. Right? I need help editing my books. I need to attract the right kind of associate that is willing to receive like a flash drive in the future that has like critical videos, not all my videos, but hours and hours and hours of podcasts that I would want the world to know that I created if something were to happen to me. It's just very simple. It's very important that I get over the pain inside and write an autobiography, and I would love to have some help publishing that outside of Amazon. Thanks for watching.